If you're looking to purchase gold or silver from one of the most respected companies with an A+ on the Better Business Bureau, been in business for over 30 years with weekly specials and the largest inventory in the game, you're in luck. Right now, Miles Franklin has two different types of 100-ounce bars, only $1.39 over spot. 12 different 100-ounce bars total with all extremely cheap prices, along with Maple's only $3.75 over spot. And on Monday, new gold and silver specials again. No minimum purchase amount, ship everywhere in the United States and Canada. Just email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com. We can even talk on the phone when placing your order if you need help. That said, keep on stacking, my friends. Yesterday, I covered an extremely interesting and alarming article, which is a hit piece directed towards the Silver Institute, coming from the Silver Academy, throwing serious allegations out on the table. Well, that was just the beginning, because today we have another article, which is titled "The Disturbing Link Between the Silver Institute and the U.S. Department of Treasury." Now, why is this all happening? What are their goals? Well, look no further, because they clearly state them right here. Their hope is by the fall of 2024, their legitimacy, reputation, and credibility will go to zero, and soon their sponsors will run for the fire exits. No mining company will want to be subject to the market heat, being in the hot seat, or shareholder backlash by being associated with the scammy Silver Institute. Why is this so important? Well, because the Silver Institute does not want silver to be a valuable commodity. They, in fact, want the opposite. They want the dollar to be the #1 asset. The existence of the Silver Institute is to obfuscate silver's uses and mislead investors, which is the opposite of what they should be doing, which is promoting silver so investors can be adequately, fairly rewarded. Their entire existence and most of their publications have been deceptive publications meant to keep a secret. And that's where this new information comes from, because they're saying, well, there's a link between the U.S. Department of Treasury, U.S. dollars, and the Silver Institute. That's where we are with this article. I had to give the context so you're up to speed. And if you missed the video I posted yesterday, well, 2 days ago at the time of this video going live, I highly recommend you watch it because it will fill in a lot of the gaps. This is serious stuff. I think it's going to end very badly. And as much as I want justice to be served, if rightly deserved, I also hope that innocent people don't get caught in the crosshairs. They get caught up in this serious controversy and all these crazy allegations, and also hoping that it doesn't make the silver stacking community look even worse than it already does, beyond just the price manipulation and all of the suppression and corruption going on behind the scenes. So I do hope that the truth gets exposed, but I just hope it's not going to do more harm than good. Remind you, this is only part 2 of 20, a series that's going to be leading into the fall, so I'm sure things will get a lot crazier since it's already a catastrophe and we're only on the second piece of information, especially now that serious allegations are getting thrown out and getting exposed. So make sure you stick around and subscribe. I come from an unbiased perspective. I'm neither on the Silver Institute side or the Silver Academy side. I do have a lot of the data, the numbers, and the context to fill in the blanks. So when I think something is worthy of my opinion, I will throw it in, but I'm not going to pick sides or name call or any of that. I will simply just state what I think and what I see and what it says. And that's all I can do, and I feel that's what makes me the prime candidate to cover news like this. So with that said, let's jump into this article. We demonstrated in our article Wednesday, February 7th, which I covered, the overarching premise that gold and silver are the opposite of the US dollar, and that the US dollar fights with all its might to smash down silver and gold price discovery. After all, if the villagers universally deemed gold and silver as money, what use would we have for a government-issued currency? The dollars we use now are Federal Reserve notes. Those paper dollars are printed at the behest of the US Treasury by the Federal Reserve orders the printing, which is not federal and has no reserves, and the advocates of gold and silver should be enemies of the Department of Treasury. I don't have to go as far as say enemies, but gold and silver are a direct threat to the dollar to some extent. Advocates of gold and silver should be enemies, the Department of Treasury. The Silver Institute is colluding with the enemy by supporting the US dollar. Perhaps the word enemy is too strong. Let me take that nomenclature away. At least we can all agree that an advocacy group for silver should not be allied with the Department of Treasury and the Federal Reserve. Anyone with a brain in their skull understands this, which is why we love our Silver Academy readers. They use logic and rationality as their guiding light to navigate through the darkness cast by fiat overlords. Vince Lanci of Goldfix and popular host on Arcadia Economics states, and I quote, "The right questions are being asked. They boil down to, are some self-titled precious metals advocacy groups really just controlled opposition?" We will answer Lanci's question, yes, precisely because of this famous quote below. And I quote, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both silver and the Department of Treasury." We introduced a character named Paul Bateman. Let's discover his jam. So this is Paul Bateman. He is Deputy Treasurer of the United States. And this ties into the article they posted on the 7th, my video yesterday, which is mentioning this connection. Treasurer Secretary James A. Baker III today announced the appointment of Paul W. Bateman to be Deputy Treasurer of the United States. Mr. Bateman formerly was Deputy Assistant. Now let's come down here to the circled part. Prior to joining the Reagan administration, Mr. Bateman was an assistant to former President Richard Nixon in San Clemente, California, and later in New York City. Mr. Bateman received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Whittier College in 1979. He was born February 28, 1957, and resides in the District of Columbia. So some would say Mr. Paul Bateman is retired from the Silver Institute since Mike took over. It turns out that this is not the case. As of 2023, Mr. Mike Durenzio, which was the prime candidate of the last article, I really recommend you guys watch that video. I'll link it in the description because these two articles go hand in hand. And Mr. Paul Bateman represented the Silver Institute at an Indian Silver Conference. So in the next article, we will dive into Metals Focus. Silver Institute paid $450,000 for their pathetic and laughable year-over-year data that documents the measly uses of silver while ignoring the majority of uses. And what do they mean by that? Well, because they mention silver's use in photography and silverware and some EVs and photovoltaics, which are PV cells used in solar panels. But a lot of silver is also used in aerospace and military, which they do not incorporate. And if you aren't aware, there is a lot of silver used in military for weaponry, silver bullets, missiles, torpedoes, surveillance, satellites, drones, everything. We're talking about a lot of silver, up to 500 ounces of silver in a single Tomahawk missile, around 100 ounces on an average missile. And they're mentioning this, saying that why isn't that being incorporated? Why? Why did they have to update their numbers last year? They had to revise their own numbers. Did they purposely leave them out, or are they misleading? And that's one of the other articles the Silver Academy posted: misleading evidence, or how was it titled? Misinformation minefield or misleading evidence, something along those lines. But also, on top of both of those things, another big thing to note is that when we look at those numbers, not only are they misleading, but that could also be major since everyone else goes off of those numbers themselves. Everyone, once the Silver Institute posts their numbers, every source goes off of their numbers. So they're at the top of the top. It's not like it's just one source. Everyone gets their source from the Silver Institute, which is very worrying if the top of the top source is corrupt, pushing misleading evidence. As we established in the lead paragraph at the top of this article, the Silver Institute wants 1 foot inside the silver world, but a larger foot inside the Department of Treasury. Likewise, Metals Focus, their bogus research rubber stamp, likes to work for central banks as indicated here. So there they go. We see the market balance, the surplus, and here's a chart showing the combined 2021 and 2022 deficits more than offset the cumulative surpluses for the past 11 years. That is insane. So all the silver that we were able to dig up and actually, to push in our reserves or to actually go in the green with were all wiped out within 2 years of record-breaking supply deficits, hundreds of millions of ounces in the red. The 2023 World Silver Survey calls for $18 silver. The average price of silver between their report and by the end of the year was $23.50. Do you see how the sinister Silver Institute scam works? They use tables, graphs, lobbying efforts, and poor methodology to trick people into hating silver just like they do. Let's look at the difference between $18 and $23.50 silver. How does Metals Focus miss by 31%? They want silver to sell off or reward the shorts. Can someone pay me $450,000 to miss by 31%, please? This is a good point, and it shows down here when they open their mouth, silver slides. The one direct situation I can point this to that actually happened was with JP Morgan in 2017. Jamie Dimon, obviously head of JP Morgan, which is the most corrupt bank in the world, which also works with the COMEX, the most corrupt bank in the world that paid a $920 million fine and had 3 of their employees going to prison for silver price manipulation, also is in the top works with the COMEX, which sets silver's price to some degree also. That's a whole separate video and story, but that's just leading up to what I'm about to say, right? So these corrupt infiltrators are everywhere. Silver price manipulation is not a myth or a conspiracy. People got sent to prison for it. But here's what my point is. Jamie Dimon came out in 2016 and called Bitcoin a scam. Or 2017. Called Bitcoin a scam. And when he did that, he went out on public news sources everywhere. It was everywhere. Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin's a scam. It's worth nothing. Bitcoin shot down thousands of dollars after he said that. Within a 12 to 24-hour period, Bitcoin was down thousands of dollars. But guess who got caught buying millions upon millions of dollars in Bitcoin after the price dropped? JP Morgan did. Jamie Dimon, the same guy that said Bitcoin is worth nothing, don't buy it, it's a scam, was buying millions of dollars in Bitcoin the day after it shot down. See what he did? Just like they're trying to say the Silver Institute does. Open their mouth, say silver's worth nothing, say Bitcoin's worth nothing, shoots the price down, and then you buy it when it's cheap. Which isn't that crazy to think. That could be happening. I'm not saying it is, but we've seen it before in other areas. And the same areas not only follow through to crypto, but silver specifically. So Dorenzio and Bates are double agents. In a prison setting, they would be called snitches. Their lobbying firm is called Klein & Sachs, or KSG. We've established you can't cheerlead the US dollar and silver. So I'm not going to go too much into each one of these paragraphs, but you guys can see the gist of this. I do want to look at more evidence, though. I want to look at the evidence. Let's stick to the facts. Employment history. So we have KSG, previously mentioned, lobbyists. This is their firm lobbying profile, and this is employer 2023. In 2011, it was Klein & Sachs, lobbyist. And then 1999 to 2002, lobbyist, forming lobby profile. Silver, the right questions are being asked. They boil down to, are some self-titled precious metals advocacy groups really just controlled opposition? Purpose of this article is to document that in the past 20 years, everyone who's invested in silver has been deceived and misled by Silver Institute. Stay tuned. So there you have it. That's where the I cannot even say the meat and potatoes lie, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is part 2 of a 20 series article. This first one that came out on the 7th, 3 days ago for you, was for part 1. We just covered part 2. There are going to be 18 more of these. 18 more. And I guess by the end, they said that the Silver Institute's legitimacy, reputation, and credibility will go to zero, and soon their sponsors will run for the fire exits. No mining company will want to be subject to the market heat or shareholder backlash being associated with the scammy Silver Institute. They want to emphasize there are zero false mining companies that were roped into their silver scam. Their official position is that they had yet to learn what was happening behind the scenes. We'll get into this in upcoming articles. And then another important part is they mention all the fault lies with 2 people. They have researched this far. But the scandal unfolds and cover-up surface, there may be more than just 2 gentlemen behind the sinister Silver Institute. So what do you think about all of this massive hit piece towards the Silver Institute? Do you think that they are onto something? Do you think this is a reach? Do you think that... What do you think? I mean, it's not about what I think. I am curious what you think. It's not even really about what you think either, though. The truth coming to light will be what matters. Is this really going on behind the scenes, which they're confidently saying it is, and that silver's price has been nipped from trillions of dollars because silver's true price is being suppressed and held back, and the people that are the ones that control the silver information is working directly with the U.S. Department of Treasury, so that there's a double agent. They're purposely pushing this misleading data so silver's price doesn't rise. And that's why you have channels like mine that expose the silver shortage to the greatest degree. And the Silver Institute's numbers don't show how dramatic the shortage is, because if they posted the real numbers, silver's price would start rising more so than it already is, since we would see the real supply deficit, or the reality of how much silver we have, or the reality that we don't have enough silver to go green, yada, yada, yada. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, let me know what you think about this. I'm going to wrap this video up here. Make sure you check out the video I posted 3 days ago, because that one is another big video that is extremely important to watch. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.